Bang, zoom, pow, welcome to the Book of Better Wrestling Show. My name is Max Whitman, as always, your host with the most. This is WWF 1994, now 1995, we'll call it WWF Classic. We are week 4, February 1995. It's the go-home show to In Your House. We got a good show. It's going to be a short show, real quick show. I estimate this whole episode will take roughly 8 minutes. It is a fairly short episode, only 7 segments. 7 quick segments here, mostly matches, not too much to talk about. I like to do that with my go-home shows. I like to run a couple angles here, there, a couple promos, but mostly tag team matches with the guys that are going to be in matches and singles matches. So that's what we're going to have today. We got main event. Main event today is going to be all the competitors for the main event on the weekend for the pay-per-view. So we'll have Vader teaming with Chris Jericho to take on the Undertaker and Razor Ramon. Well, let's jump into our pre-show for now. We're going to open up Taz versus Shawn Michaels. Good wrestling, decent reaction from the crowd. Shawn Michaels defeats Taz in 10 minutes with the sweet chin music. HBK in 93, and Taz has a 67. HBK has a gimmick that's getting stale, so it's worth looking into changing him up shortly. We could look to turn him babyface, although I don't think that's going to matter much because after WrestleMania, we'll likely be getting rid of the face-heel divide anyway. So we'll have to look, see what his gimmick actually is right now, and see if we can tweak him, change him up a little bit. It could be time for a babyface turn, but we will see. But Taz does pretty well. Taz pulls a 67. HBK carries the match, obviously. But next up, we get the 1-2-3 Kid and Owen Hart. And I wanted to... I ran this one 20 minutes. 20 minutes, called it in the ring. Wanted to see how the 1-2-3 Kid could go with Owen Hart. And he does okay. Owen carries the match, obviously, in 85. 1-2-3 Kid pulls a 61. I think if there's anybody that's going to benefit from the face-heel divide going away and moving towards a more in-ring product, I think it's going to be Owen Hart as a possible singles competitor. So obviously he'll still have his tag team with Neidhart, he'll have the Hart Foundation, but if we're going to be going towards a more New Japan style with stables and all that, then I think the Hart Foundation is Owen's opportunity to really shine. And on top of the fact that it just kind of fits, if you watched our character development, it just kind of fits, to form a monster stable that's uber successful, would fill that goal for Owen Hart of topping what Brett was able to do, would fill it nicely. So interesting storyline to watch out for there as we move towards WrestleMania. We're gonna open up our show though. This goes in 89. This is just a in your house hype video. It's just gonna kind of pump up the crowd, get them excited for this weekend, for this Sunday. Everybody comes across looking excellent. These guys are all being rated on their overness, just on their popularity. Pulls in 89. Great segment here. So we'll move into our first angle. It's Diesel, and Diesel's basically just going to cut a quick promo, and he's just going to say that this Sunday at In Your House, the Power Cats, particularly Jeff the Persian Jarrett, are going to meet a diesel truck, and we all know what happens when cats come in contact with a diesel truck. It's a corny promo, but it gets the point across. Diesel's going to win. That's what he's saying. We go to our next segment. This is a tag team match. We get the Smoking Guns with Diesel versus the Power Cats. And the Power Cats are going to defeat Diesel and the Smoking Guns in 11.5 minutes when Jeff Jarrett defeats Bart Gunn by submission with the figure 4. Diesel pulls an 88 here. The Guns 60 and a 61. And then actually, believe it or not, Jeff was actually the weak link here. Jeff pulls a 64, Luger a 77, and Scott Levy a 70, actually. Out of the 3, that's actually good, though, because out of the 3, Levy's the guy that I actually want to push. I don't think I'll push him as the Raven character, but I do want to push him eventually at some point. It does score 79, though, so good segment. And unfortunately, I forgot to start a storyline with these 3. So there's no storyline advancement here. I will have to do that after this show. Here's Sid Vicious, just going to pull a 77. Sid's cutting a promo on Adam Bomb. What is he saying? I don't know. Nobody knows what Sid is saying. He's just going kind of crazy into the camera. That's really what it is. But it goes to 77. It's going to be a good episode of Raw, I think. Moving forward, here we're going to get Tatanka and the Hardys versus Lawler and Yoko Crush. So we get Tatanka and Lawler, who will be taking on each other in a tag team match at In Your House, and the Hardys versus Yoko Crush. The Hardys will be challenging for the titles, obviously, in Your House. It scores in 81. Jerry Lawler and Yoko Crush defeat Tatanka and the Hardy Boys. Jerry Lawler is going to defeat Jeff Hardy via pinfall. Scores in 81. The Hardys a 52 and a 48. Tatanka a 72. Crush with the 68. Lawler with the 62. And Yokozuna once again with the 87. Yokozuna just killing it, as always. And I think it's really good for our tag team division. Sometimes you get tempted when you have a guy, as a booker, sometimes you get tempted when you got a guy pulling consistently in the high 80s to the 90s, low 90s on occasion. You get tempted sometimes to say, okay, well, this guy needs a singles push. When the fact is, in this case, Yokozuna doing that for our tag team belts and putting on consistently good matches with those tag team belts is only going to help the prestige of those belts and help the tag teams around him. So if the goal is to try and build a strong tag team division, which I'm trying to do because it's generally a weakness of mine, so I wanted to focus on it in this save. If the goal is to try and build that tag team, you need guys like Yokozuna, who sure could absolutely be carrying a company with the singles on the single side, but you need some of those guys in that tag team division. The same is true with Owen Hart. It's easy to want to push Owen Hart as a face, as a singles guy, but you need him sometimes in that role in the tag team division to kind of keep it going. So, but it scores an 81. Good solid match. It's going to gain heat for the Tatanka versus Lawler storyline. Any worker improvements? No. We will move on to our next segment here. Here's an angle with Shawn Michaels. And it's basically, again, it's just HBK cutting a promo on The Undertaker. But in this case, he's cutting a promo on anybody that's in that match tonight. So HBK is cutting a promo, and again, I forgot to put, as you can tell, I don't have a whole lot of time today. I'm crunched for time today, which is why I focused heavy on the matches mainly. But I forgot to add here. I forgot to add the other 4 guys that are in the main event so that this would affect the storyline. Not a big deal because it only scores a 76, so it's not necessarily the worst that it didn't hit that HBK Taker storyline, because it probably would have lost heat anyway. But this is basically Shawn Michaels. He's cutting a promo on the 4 guys that are in the main event and In Your House. He's basically saying he doesn't care if it's The Undertaker, he doesn't care if it's Chris Jericho, he doesn't care if it's Vader, he doesn't care if it's good old the bad guy Razor Ramon. Whoever it is, at WrestleMania, he'll be taking that belt off. So if one of those 3 guys wants to take that belt from The Undertaker, it's going to be a short-lived title reign, because at WrestleMania 11, the Heartbreak Kid is walking out the World Wrestling Federation champion. That's going to bring us to our main event, and it scores an 85. Great match, B+. Superb wrestling, great heat. Vader and Chris Jericho defeat The Undertaker and Razor Ramon when Vader defeats Razor Ramon by submission. Vader keeps tapping people out. There was a time, scores an 85. Vader was off his game. Vader off his game pulls an 85. So Jericho the 88, Vader the 85, Razor the 90, Undertaker the 92. There were times where there was a definite lack of psychology on display, and the match had a tendency to drift a little. But other than that, this is a great match, and it's a great main event for Raw. Any worker improvements? Yep. Razor Ramon improving in Rumble. Vader improving in technical and flying skills. I laugh at Vader improving in flying skills, but you're talking about a guy. Vader was an agile big man. So I'm really happy with the signing of Vader. I got high hopes for Vader. He's actually been way better in the ring than I even thought he would be. Granted, I know Vader's a solid in-ring worker, but he's been phenomenal since he came on. I got big plans for Vader going forward, especially with the move to a more in-ring style. I think that's going to benefit Vader tremendously, and I do have high hopes for him and Chris Jericho, obviously, as well. So that is going to do it for our show. Let's see where we rank here in 84. So another good solid show. February has been a good month for Monday Night Raw, all above the 80s, all mostly in that 82 to 85 range. It's going to increase our popularity in 12 regions. So holding fast at our popularity where we are. and increasing in the areas where we're a little less. So a good solid show. I'll take that. I think In Your House is actually going to be a pretty good show. I think we'll give it a rundown. We got the main event, Undertaker defending the title against Jericho, Razor Ramon, and Vader. Diesel defending his Intercontinental title against Jeff Jarrett. Yoko Crush putting the tag titles on the line against the Hardy Boys. Jerry Lawler and Chris Candido will be taking on Tatanka and the Navajo Kid. I think that's it. I think I'm going to have... Bigelow will probably be in action. I think Shawn Michaels will take on Taz just as a throw-in match, just to get Taz some exposure on there. But there'll be a couple of throw-in matches. But our main matches, our title matches, they're going well. The angles are hot. I think it's going to be a good show. So, folks, that is going to do it for me today. Again, like I said, I'm on a bit of a time crunch, but this episode comes in at about 12 minutes, which is right where I want to be. So, folks, I appreciate you joining me once again. If you came here on your lunch break, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm glad you took the time to stop by. If you're on the West Coast and it's not your lunch break, it's early in the morning, thanks for dropping in this early in the morning. I do appreciate that as well. I'm glad we were able to wake up together. If you're over in Europe or some other country that isn't the United States, I don't know how time works over there. You got the metric system. I don't know what's going on over there. So whatever time it is by you, thanks for sitting down. It's always a pleasure, and I really brings me a lot of joy to bring you some content. So if you're new, go ahead, click subscribe. Every subscribe helps the channel. If you got any suggestions, leave them down there in the comments. Let me know if I'm doing a good job. Let me know if you like this, anything you want to see. Folks, thank you for joining me. I'm out of here. You go on, enjoy the rest of your day. I know I will. I will see you on Friday for In Your House.